Welcome to the Talk podcast with ideas strategist Linda Reed-Enever. Talk is where we chat about ideas and inspiration you can use to market your business. Get ready for practical tips you can implement today with your host, Linda Reed-Enever.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Talk podcast. I'm ideas marketing strategist Linda Reed-Enever, and I'm excited today to be talking to you about the world of Twitter and what makes a great tweet. When we're learning our social media platforms, Twitter is one that quite often gets thrown to the wayside because it's maybe a little bit overwhelming or it's a little bit fast. Twitter is definitely, for certain, one of the most passionate forms of social media. And you'll see if there's any trending or breaking news or stuff happening out in the world where there's people who want to get their message out quick, Twitter is one of the top platforms that they are getting out there. They're posting their posts and using it. And we've only got to think of Donald Trump in the past to understand how he used Twitter to get his message out there. It is powerful, people follow, people engage, and they're following hashtags. So it's definitely worthwhile considering within your user. That's my tips on Twitter. As I said, it's passionate, and it's also one of those opportunities where journalists come to because of the passion and because of the fast-paced message, to look for sources, to look for things. And if you do nothing else today, but after this episode, go and follow the hashtag help a reporter out or follow the hashtag journo call out, you might find some opportunities popping up for you where journalists are actually looking for stories that you can tap into. So there you go. Hashtags make a good tweet. And we're going to delve into that a little bit further on. So when we come to writing our own tweets, a couple of things we need to keep into consideration. The first thing is that a tweet itself is 240 characters long. That is 240 characters, not words. So 240 strikes of that keyboard that you've got to share your message with. So we want to make sure that we are using those 240 characters to the best of our advantage. First thing is we need to keep things simple. We need to make sure that our tweet is not going to confuse people. We want to make sure that it can be retweeted so that you've got a few extra characters at the end that people can retweet. Twitter is a fast-paced environment. So by keeping things simple, we're able to engage with our readers. Now, you can add to those 240 characters by putting in a short form piece of video. You can add to those 240 characters by putting an image in or a link that's going to relate to your tweet. And by doing all of that, you actually tap into the call to action component, which we will talk about. So Twitter is the original platform when you think about it for short form. They've been doing short form content from the start, and they started with characters and tweets. So we want to make sure that we're keeping things simple and using those 240 characters to the best of our advantage. So note for self, try and keep your jargon out of posts because that's going to confuse people. No one wants to be confused. And also don't use those extra words because you don't have to on Twitter. You want to keep things simple. The next component in what makes a really good tweet is the tone and the style. Now, we all know social media is all about a conversational style, but in Twitter, it is more than ever a conversation because that's what it is. People tweet, they retweet, they share information, and they have a bit of a conversation. So you want to make sure that you are talking to a human when you're putting your marketing out there for Twitter. Avoid the business jargon where possible because once again, we confuse people. They don't read the tweet, they scroll on because no one wants to feel stupid. And remember, the feed moves fast. So if your tweet confuses someone with jargon, it will be overlooked, as we just said. But you can also share your message in multiple different ways and be able to keep tweeting because the feed does move fast. So you can have a couple of different conversations or you can take a couple of different angles at it. The next component of what makes a really good tweet is the call to action. And that's, what do we want someone to do? Make it simple and make it achievable and fun. So if you want them to read the blog, you go read the blog here. Or, if you want them to retweet if you agree, great. Or like if they agree. It's simple, achievable and fun. Remember, it's a fast-paced environment, so we don't want the action to be too long for them. If it's click to read the blog, click to read the blog. If it's to share if they agree, share do they agree. It's all really simple, but once again, 240 characters, so we don't have a huge amount, so you may talk about retweeting, but it's all about engagement. And that call to action is about creating engagement and telling Twitter that you're creating some really good content out there. So when we add videos to our Twitter's tweets, which you can do now, which is great, you've got the opportunity, the engagement could be to watch. So your call to action would be there to watch. And then the fourth component that really makes your tweet a valuable tweet is the hashtags. Hashtags are synonymous with Twitter. They are something we need to do a little bit of research about. There's Hashtagify, there's display purposes, there's Rytetag that allow you to be able to have a look at what hashtags are. And what hashtag does is it actually links the post through to other posts in relation to it. So I like Hashtagify. It's really simple to use. And I also like display purposes. They're two handy tools to be able to put the hashtags. But you can start to put in your keyword and start to find hashtags that you would like to use. Now, the secret power that we use in-house here is we use a tool called Missinglettr to take our blogs and share them out to Twitter. So that content we're writing, our sales pages, our landing pages, we use Missinglettr to do that. And Missinglettr also has an inbuilt hashtag finder for us along the way that suggests the hashtags that it's going to think that helps us get the reach. And the other handy thing that we use when we're using Missinglettr is we use their curate function as well. And curate allows us to be able to share other people's content so that we break up our feed with some other people's stuff in there. And it also allows us to be able to add our top posts or our top tweets out there. So before we wrap up today's episode, what I thought I'd do is leave you with a bit of to-do list for Twitter so that you can start to make sure that you are getting the most out of Twitter and you're starting to build your Twitter profile. So we've covered the things that make a good tweet. The first thing I would suggest you do is go to your Twitter profile, optimize it. Make sure you've got your image there, your cover image, you've filled in any details about who you are and what you're about. Follow any leaders or key stakeholders within your field so that you can get started. If you haven't already let your audience know you're on Twitter, let them know. Engage with the people you follow. Retweet a few tweets. Install the Twitter app on your phone because that is my top favorite tip. It's where I actually can manage Twitter. I cannot manage Twitter on desktop. I manage it on my phone. And make some time, some 5-minute spots within your day to engage with Twitter. The next component I would do is if you're blogging and you've got lots of content already out there, I would dip my toe into the water by using a tool like Reed-Enever or Missinglettr to start sharing my tweets out there, to start sharing those posts and start engaging with our people. Twitter is a fast-moving platform, but it is not too scary of a platform if you take a stab at it and you work your way through it. So that's it for today's episode of the Talk Podcast. Remember the 4 elements of making a great tweet: a simplicity, a conversational style, call to actions, hashtags, and then consistently sharing and engaging from there. Happy tweeting, and I look forward to seeing you on Twitter. You can find me at Linda Reed-Enever.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talk with Linda Reed-Enever. Make sure you subscribe via your favourite podcast app so you don't miss the next great episode. You can find more ideas and inspiration at lindareedenever.com.au.